Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Yashodanandana Brajadana Randana Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jamuna Tira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Tri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satta, Sri Srimad His Divine Grace, Srila Boy Charan Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Sri Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Skandi Biti, Founder Charyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki, Namacharya Sri Dahas Thakur Ki, Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sadvaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki, Jai Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Jai Sri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Primanande, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Krishna Chaitanya. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Hamma Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagaratam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sadivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dhamma Sheva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara, Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed, practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord who is praised with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Sloka Charitam Rishi Nisreya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swasayanam Mahad. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Granthara, as the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktapinda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Sarabhyaya Namaha, Om Sarabhyaya Namaha, Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vasaram pangum langayate girim yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam yatkripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. I forgot to mention that actually our main architect for the Gita Pachala is coming this morning, and so we might have a special class, spontaneous class on site regarding connected with Vastu actually, because architects are supposed to know a little bit about Vastu. And we also forgot to welcome our guest who just arrived yesterday, Amala Harinam. Amala Harinam Amira Vila. Yeah, so you'll be here for a few days, maybe 1 week or something, right? Yeah. So he's a student and sometimes teaches also. Yeah. Okay, we are continuing from the first canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are nearing the end of the third chapter, which is entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And there's very few important verses coming up here. As a matter of fact, the one we're reading this morning, which is text 43, right? 42 or 43? Yes, 42. Okay, so 43 will be tomorrow, and 44 is the last verse. Okay, 42. Canto 1, chapter 3, 42. Sa tu samsravayam asa maharajam parikshitam prayo pavistam gangayam paritam paramarshibhihi. Satu samsravayam asa
Satu samsravayamasa
Maharajam parikshitam
Maharajam Parikshitam
Prayopavistam gangayam
Prayopavishtam Gangayam
Paritam Paramarshibihi
Paritam Paramarshati
Satu samsravayam asa
Satu samsravayamasa
Maharajam parikshitam
Maharajam Parikshitam
Prayopavistam gangayam
Prayopavishtam Gangayam
Paritam Paramarshibihi
Paritam Paramarshati
Satu samsravayam asa
Satu samsravayamasa
Maharajam parikshitam
Maharajam Parikshitam
Prayopavistam gangayam
Prayopavishtam Gangayam
Paritam Paramarshibihi
Paritam Paramarshati
Satu samsravayam asa Maharajam parikshitam Prayopavistam gangayam Paritam Paramarshibihi Satu samsravayam asa Maharajam parikshitam Prayopavistam gangayam Paritam Paramarshibihi Satu samsravayam asa
Maharajam Parikshitam
Maharajam parikshitam
Prayopavishtam Gangayam
Prayopavistam gangayam
Paritam Paramarshati
Paritam Paramarshibihi
Satu samsravayam asa
Satu samsravayam asa
Maharajam parikshitam
Maharajam parikshitam
Prayopavishtam gangayam
Prayopavistam gangayam
Paritam paramarshibhi
Paritam Paramarshibihi Saha, the son of Vyasadeva.
Son of Vyasadeva
Two, again, Samsravayam
Samsravayam
Asa
Asa
made them audible. Maharajam
Maharajam
unto the emperor. Parikshitam
Parikshitam
of the name Parikshit.
Name Parikshit
Praya Upavistam
Raya Upavishtam
who sat until death
until death
without food or drink.
without food or drink.
Gangayam
Gangayam
on the bank of the Ganges.
Bank of the Ganges
Paritam
Paritam
being surrounded.
is surrounded
Paramarishibihi
Paramarishibihi
by great sages.
by great sages.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn, delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without food or drink. Kindly repeat after me. Shukadeva Goswami,
Sukadeva Goswami,
the son of Vyasadeva,
son of Vyasadeva,
in his turn, delivered the Bhagavatam
delivered the Bhagavatam
to the great Emperor Parikshit,
to the great emperor
who sat surrounded by sages
sat surrounded by sages
on the bank of the Ganges,
on the bank of the Ganges,
awaiting death
awaiting death
without taking food or drink.
without taking food or drink.
Report. all transcendental messages are received properly in the chain of disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called parampara. Unless therefore Bhagavatam or other or any other Vedic literatures are received through the parampara system, the reception of knowledge is not bona fide. Vyasadeva delivered the message to Shukadeva Goswami, and from Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami received the message. One should therefore receive the message of Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami or from his representative, and not from any irrelevant interpreter. Emperor Parikshit received the information of his death in time, and he at once left his kingdom and family and sat down on the bank of the Ganges to fast till death. All great sages, rishis, philosophers, mystics, etc., went there due to his imperial position. They offered many suggestions about his immediate duty, and at last it was settled that he would hear from Shukadeva Goswami about Lord Krishna. Thus, the Bhagavatam was spoken to him. Sripad Shankaracharya, who preached Mayavad philosophy and stressed the impersonal feature of the Absolute, also recommended that one must take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, for there is no hope of gain from debating. Indirectly, Sripad Shankaracharya admitted that what he had preached in the flowery grammatical interpretation of the Vedanta Sutra cannot help one at the time of death. At the critical hour of death, one must recite the name of Govinda. This is the recommendation of all great transcendentalists. Shukadeva Goswami had long ago stated the same truth, that at the end one must remember Narayana. Ante Narayana Smriti. That is the essence of all spiritual activities. In pursuance of this eternal truth, Srimad Bhagavatam was heard by Emperor Parikshit, and it was recited by the able Shukadeva Goswami. And both the speaker and the receiver of the messages of Bhagavatam were duly delivered by the same medium. Translation again, the Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. So whether it is on this planet or whether it is on other planets, such as the heavenly planets, there are some specific places where the Bhagavatam actually is being recited. Bhagavatam has been, as we have heard, especially compiled by Srila Vyasadeva on the order actually of his spiritual master. So the importance, absolute importance of parampara is being mentioned here. No knowledge can be considered as bona fide knowledge if it is not received coming in Guru Parampara. So it means we are amazingly, after 5,000 years of Kali Yuga, still up to now, and it is meant to continue for at least another 10,000 years. The message of the Bhagavatam, which is the most important message, the most important literatures in the world. Hare Krishna. We have an intruder in the Bhagavatam class this morning. So, so Bhagavatam is by the mercy of all of these personalities, beginning by the mercy of Srila Vyasadeva, and of course before him Narada Muni, before him Lord Brahma, and ultimately it is Krishna. Krishna's, yeah. So anyone who actually is coming in contact with the Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, all such people, and that means all of us here, are extremely fortunate because simply by hearing this message of the Bhagavatam, we come to understand and know how to get out of this material entanglement in which we find ourselves. And we have example after example of what happens when we don't know about the Bhagavatam or don't follow the Bhagavatam, which is teaching us, of course, about Dharma. Here it mentions how Parikshit Maharaj, who was a recipient of the Srimad Bhagavatam, very interesting how so many great personalities were assembled. This is explained in the Bhagavatam, how when Parikshit Maharaj came to know that he was cursed, he immediately left all of his responsibilities, left his kingdom. He went on the bank of the Ganges to prepare himself within 7 days to leave his body. And so here it mentions how, what is the proper way to leave one's body. Two things. One is to hear transcendental sound vibration, either the Bhagavatam. I mean, Srila Prabhupada in his last days not only was hearing Kirtan, but he was actually speaking the Bhagavatam. I'm sure you've seen. So Parikshit Maharaj, as a very ideal example for us, he taught how that is the most important activity at the end of one's life, if one is fortunate to be surrounded by devotees who are either reciting transcendental sound vibration or chanting the holy name. And that's why Srila Prabhupada specifically instructed his disciples, at the end, don't take me to the hospital. I want to be in Vrindavan. So that is natural, when we are having some knowledge, basic knowledge, then as devotees we understand that everyone at some point we have to leave this body. And it's best to leave the body in as a natural and we have the term, eco-friendly kind of atmosphere. When one when one is in a hospital, it's like you're not having people that it's not a favorable atmosphere, and especially the whole mood and mentality is how not to allow this person to die. People will unnecessarily prolong the life here within the body, not understanding that it's a certain time comes where we just have to accept the fact that this particular person is going to leave his body. And so these two things, fasting, actually in the one purport in the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada mentions that if one is like having a particular disease where he cannot eat anymore, where his body is like no longer functioning, then he just should decide, like Parikshit Maharaj, you just fast and accept the fact that you have to leave your body. We hear about this when it comes to our own selves, then it's a bit more, it's like reality is facing us. But that is why um, throughout our life we are meant to to practice and to prepare ourselves ultimately for leaving this body. We have many wonderful examples actually within, of course, within the history. This is one of them, Parikshit Maharaj, but even within our own ISKCON society. I remember hearing about even relatively young devotees, you know. Usually when we are younger and if we have not been in Krishna consciousness for that many years, it's natural that one is more conditioned, etc. But some devotees who, even though young in age and also not practicing for so many years, most likely due to some previous activities of Krishna, in previous life, they take the matter of Krishna consciousness very seriously. It's not a question of age. It's simply a question of determination and conviction that yes, this is the ultimate knowledge and the ultimate goal of life, and it is rare, but even within a matter of a few years, one can become very, very strong and convinced in this philosophy of Krishna consciousness and not be overly disturbed. People unexpectedly, devotees included, happen to go to the hospital for just a medical checkup, and then in a normal medical checkup, that's why many people avoid going to hospitals to find out what's going on with this body, to find out that somebody has like terminal cancer and has to leave within 6 months or something, according to the doctors. So, in this way, Parikshit Maharaj is a very ideal example. And Shukadeva Goswami, yeah, although so many exalted personalities were there on the banks of the Ganges, including Narada Muni, including Vyasadeva. when Parikshit Maharaj was on the bank of the Ganges, and so many, as mentioned here, so many, because he was the emperor of the world, so many great personalities, so many kings, the news spread, and they came to be there, and there were different suggestions being put forward. And then ultimately, at some point, it is described how this young boy, 16-year-old boy, Shukadeva Goswami, just walked in, uh, and he was naked, but immediately everyone could recognize he's the one that, he's the chosen one to speak to Parikshit Maharaj. So it's not a question of age, you know. Um, Shukadeva Goswami was, we were discussing yesterday, somewhat inconceivably self-realized soul within the womb of his mother. Uh, and when he heard the Bhagavatam from Srila Vyasadeva, it's like, that's, he became qualified, isn't it? He became qualified to actually share the Bhagavatam. And he was like the obvious person, although so many other exalted personalities were there. And so he was chosen to speak the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Mm. So actually the next verse is nicely glorifying the Bhagavatam itself, because, yeah, very famous verse which devotees have heard. I'm sure we'll go to that verse now. Mm. Unless there's some comment or question on this text 42. We'll read 43. Yes. Hmm? Yeah, you can ask question, yeah.
Вопрос. В конце о том, что оба достигли совершенства, и когда пришло время, они оба освободились. Когда Госвами, когда поведал Бхагаватам, Парикшит, когда услышал Бхагаватам. Вопрос по поводу Шилапрапады, ухода Шилапрапады. Много общаюсь, проповедую с преданными. Так вопрос, почему Шилапрапада ушел раньше, чем создал Варнашрам? Вроде бы, кажется, совершенством было бы достичь, это создать Варнашрам.
The question is, yeah, go ahead.
Why Srila Prabhupada left his body before establishing Varnashram? Like in an ideal way, it would be to establish Varnashram and then to let the body.
Yes, yes. It would have saved us big headache. It would have made things much easier. I'll answer in the following way. Srila Prabhupada was speaking about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, as we know, traveled extensively all over India to introduce the Hare Krishna movement, which he did wonderfully, of course. And in that context, Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over India, and he left the rest of the world to the Hare Krishna movement. So in a similar way, Srila Prabhupada gave us the basic foundation of Krishna consciousness, gave us the basic understanding also of Varnashram. It's in his books, and other Vedic literatures, to give us something to do, to give us an opportunity to actually become serious about practicing Krishna consciousness. And because we cannot either on the spiritual or on the material level in terms of dharma, which is the main theme that we discuss all the time, spiritual swadharma, material swadharma. We cannot understand either of them unless we become very serious about the subject matter. And in order to become serious about it, it means we have to become very strongly established in our sadhana. And therefore, there may be other explanations, but Srila Prabhupada, in the short time that he had, left many important instructions. It's like, Prabhupada wanted the temple of Vedic planetarium established. It would have been nice to establish that in his lifetime, but it was not possible. And even after 50 years, well, it has come up, but it's Madhava are still not moved there. So that's one explanation, and this is like another one is that Krishna does things according to his own sweet will for reasons that we may not always understand. Definitely it was Prabhupada's desire to complete the Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, it was his life mission, and somehow it didn't happen. Maybe someone has some additional insight on this. Actually, I would say, many examples of previous acharyas who had different desires and who left different instructions. I think Ramanuja, naturally, personalities who are like Srila Prabhupada, are Vaishnava acharyas because of their vision. They have so many plans to help reestablish, reintroduce on a global level, actually, this global vision. This global vision actually was there with the Goswamis, going back 500 years. So we have, as individuals, many plans for assisting in the mission, but ultimately Krishna has the original and the big plan, the master plan, and why certain things happen the way they do, we cannot always understand. So, but definitely in the context of Varnasrama, Srila Prabhupada has, these two things are there, right? Prabhupada did not fully, because he said 50% of my mission is yet to be fulfilled. So he did not fully establish Varnasrama, but he gave us what we need to actually establish Varnasrama. That's one thing. Secondly, although he did not finish translating the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada did mention, I'm putting everything in the first canto. And I'm also giving you the full Bhagavatam in the form of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in other words, the essence of the Bhagavatam is actually the 10th canto, isn't it? And Prabhupada has given us the 10th canto, summarized version of the 10th canto. Actually, everything is in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So when we think it in that way, Prabhupada has given us as a bona fide, pure representative of Parampara system, as we're reading here. He's given us the Mahamantra. What else do you want? Everything is there in the Mahamantra. It's a question of us becoming purified. So if everything is there in the Mahamantra, Varnashrama is also there. Isn't it? The whole spiritual world is in the Mahamantra. All knowledge needed is concealed in the Mahamantra. So we have been given everything. Now it is up to us to sufficiently become purified and advance in devotional service so that we qualify to actually receive Krishna's mercy. And that verse is there. Kali Kali Yuga Dharma Harinama Sankirtan Krishna Shakti Vinanahi Tar Pravartan. Krishna Shakti Vinanahi. Without receiving the Shakti or the mercy of Krishna, it is not possible to spread the Sankirtan movement, nor is it possible to introduce Varnashrama. Nor is it possible to even understand Varnashrama. Before we introduce Varnashrama, we have to understand Varnashrama. And one of the basics, in the 64 items of devotional service, the first 10 emphasize the importance of following Guru. So, Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya, founder Guru, for our society, he gave different instructions, different orders. And when we neglect any of those orders, then we are failing, isn't it? As disciples, or as followers, or as grand disciples. and therefore we are missing out when we don't properly follow. And one of those most very important instructions given by Srila Prabhupada, and the reason why we're sitting here this morning, and every morning, is to establish Varnashram colleges. Is to establish, the same instruction Prabhupada gave in his essay on Gita Nagari. That's once you have a temple, the first most important aspect to develop within your community are educational institutions, Gurukula. So Prabhupada, therefore he speaks about Gita Patshala. So a temple is not simply a place where we just show the deities. A temple is a heart of the community, which is meant to actually provide knowledge. It's meant to be an educational institution to teach people systematically. Prabhupada uses the word. It's the first of the 7 purposes formulated by Srila Prabhupada to systematically teach Krishna consciousness based on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore we have everyday Bhagavatam class. We have Bhakti Shastri. we are introducing what is called Dharma Shastri. We had last few days Dharma Shastri course. Yeah.
Старший шукающий треть быть, это любовь, подобно тому, как Кришна не навязывает себя всем из любви к демонам, то же самое Шилпада не навязывал Варнашему из любви, что это может только для истинных последователей. Поэтому сказал. Ну, то есть
A follow-up question.
да, дополнение. Ну, вот первое, второе, третье. Почему? Третье это третье. Да, из-за любви. Подобно тому, как Кришна не навязывает себя демону всем остальным. Он не навязывает.
So you asked about the other insights, like why Srila Prabhupada left his body before establishing Varnashrama.
Yes.
Maybe one of them, he doesn't want to impose Varnashrama, like Krishna doesn't impose his love for others.
Okay, so yeah, so he's saying that possibly one of the reasons why Srila Prabhupada did not introduce Varnashrama was that he didn't want to impose, similar to Krishna doesn't force people to surrender. It has to be voluntary. Well, definitely Varnashrama is, because it has been for many centuries, not only many decades, but for many centuries since the time of Lord Buddha, Varnashrama has not been followed properly, has not been understood properly. So yes, it takes some time, and therefore Prabhupada himself explains in one lecture that if I would have immediately in New York spoken about Varnashrama, nobody would have been interested. So his point is, correct in that Prabhupada understood that everything has its time. Prabhupada said people were coming to the 22nd Avenue not to hear about Krishna, to take prasadam, to take good food. And then slowly, gradually, as people became a little purified by taking food, by hearing, by chanting, then, they, some of the devotees who first took initiation didn't know there were 4 principles. Or they came to know like the day before the initiation. Oh. So it requires a certain amount of purification. Actually, just like we cannot understand about the Rasa Lila and the very elevated subject matters that saintly persons discuss and are immersed in, unless we're purified. In a similar way, and I think there's this, I'll try to find, there's a statement in the Bhagavatam I came across it quite a long time ago, and it's just coming to mind now, where Prabhupada explains that actually it is not at all easy to understand about Varnashrama, and that one needs to have, I'll try to find the exact quote, but basically, I'm paraphrasing, it needs a certain amount of purification. Actually, when I read that, quite some time back, it dawned on me that this is actually true, Unless one has a certain level of purification, there are certain things, including varnashrama, that people just cannot understand. Small example, it's actually a big example. I was mentioning yesterday at the program at the Sri Mayapur International School. I was speaking a little bit about Vrindavan and how every day Krishna and Balaram. Actually, I quoted that verse, or I gave the reference. I didn't quote the verse. 10:11:37. So 10:11:37 is simply basically it's like it's a chapter Krishna's daily activities. Krishna every day, actually, when Krishna's old enough, like 6 or 7 years, he's given the responsibility of the calves. So, Krishna starts going out every day with all his friends, hundreds, thousands actually. And the Prabhupada says, this is Vedic education. We have to stop and think, what is behind that statement. This is Vedic education. They're not going to school. Why Prabhupada is telling this is Vedic education? Because in our mind, in our conditioned mind, in our impure mind, we think that education means you have to go to school. I mean, that's so heavily ingrained in all of us. If you don't go to, parents especially, if my child doesn't get an education, education means I have to go to school. But in Vedic culture, going to school, that's not education. Because the majority of people don't go to school. And many students would be relieved to know about this. Wow. Why have I been forced to go to school? I don't like school. Because majority of people actually are not meant for formal school. Education, we need to broaden our understanding of what is education. So this small example of how if we don't have like developed consciousness, purified consciousness, we cannot understand. We see, but we don't understand. It's just like we see the deities every day, but we don't understand that actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead is right here. How it's working. Yeah. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So therefore, actually, the same point Prabhupada is making in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, chapter 11, when Narada Muni begins to explain about Varnashrama, that one needs to develop these 30 qualities. 30 qualities of human being. If one doesn't develop these 30 qualities, he's not considered a human being. And what do those 30 qualities begin with? They begin with the 4 pillars of Dharma. Satyam, Daya, Tapa, Saucham. The 4 rules and regulations that we follow, 4 principles, are directly connected with these 4 qualities that need to be developed. Satyam. People who are engaged in gambling, they're not satyam. They cannot develop. They're not honest. Daya. People who are killing animals, meat eating, they cannot develop daya, compassion for all living entities. Tapa. Those discipline, austerity. Those who are not controlling their senses. Those who are engaged in illicit sex life, they cannot develop the quality of tapa. Saucham, those who take intoxicants, their body, their mind cannot be pure. So Prabhupada explains in the purport to this verse that Varnashram will only be able to be nicely introduced when we have people who are actually developing these qualities. Yeah. In other words, these are preliminary qualities to actually nicely introduce and properly understand about Varnashrama. And of course, this can be done especially by chanting a holy name, by associating with devotees, by taking prasadam, by hearing all of these activities, which is what we are meant to do on a daily basis. And if we do this, then the whole process uh, helps one to become purified, and then we can understand. Only once we are purified, then we can understand actually how to introduce Varnashrama. Because Varnashrama this is stated very clearly by our acharyas, because the majority of people in the material world are conditioned by the modes of material nature. Therefore, they need to take shelter of Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's system, so that they can gradually become purified. Yes? No.
Поэтому и
Да, да,
просто
да, да.
навязать
Да means
Варнашрам,
yes.
включать кастовую систему. Если просто вести Варнашрам с неподготовленными людьми, без любви, то это будет кастовая система. А да, Варнашрам, она добровольная, с любовью и знанием.
If we trying to force a Varnashram, it will be like a class system. Just
What system?
like a class system.
Clash. Clash.
Like a class system.
Clash or class? Forced caste system.
Yeah, it just forced it, just without knowledge, without purifying.
Well, the reality is that everyone follows or everyone falls in. Everyone falls in, whether they know it or not, falls in one of these four classes. That's called the perverted Varnashrama system. Everyone is influenced by the modes of material nature, and they are, some people are more intellectual, some people are more into producing, yeah, some people are more into controlling, administrators. Some people just can only do manual work. So the four classes are already there. What we are trying to introduce, what Bhagavatam is speaking about, is this purified level where individuals are not on the bodily platform, but they accept that these natural occupations that are described according to the Varnas, this is needed within society, and as devotees, we are meant to take up some particular role and position. Somebody has to be a teacher somewhere, somebody has to organize somewhere, somebody has to produce food, because after the Bhagavatam, everyone's looking for breakfast. And yeah. So it is there, but it is perverted or impure. It's just like all of our activities in the material world are a perverted reflection of the original activities in the spiritual world. So we cannot avoid in the same way that we cannot avoid relationship rasa. If we're not engaged in spiritual rasa, we are engaged in material rasa. And we cannot avoid varnashram. If we're not engaged in daiva varnashram, we're engaged in asuric varnashram. Our objective is to convert the asuric varnashram into daiva varnashram. Is to convert our material uh, material rasa into spiritual rasa.
Which dog we will be feeding?
Which work?
Dog we will be feeding.
Okay, yes, yes. Who, which master we will be serving? It is, you know, whether to be Godas or Goswami. Majority of people, they only know about Godas, serving the senses. Okay, tomorrow's verse is for tomorrow. I mean, yeah, a very important verse tomorrow also. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada.